This is the voice of Ware Lee, and this lecture today is going to discuss a profoundly impactful part of my trading process that I learned about and adopted not early enough into my journey. The daily report card is a key aspect of my journaling and helps me stay more in tune with my process when I'm actively trading and understand my process when I'm going into and reviewing a session. Now, before we discuss how and why and the details of the daily report card, follow me on Twitter at WearyTrader. You can see my handle here on screen, and join the free trading room on Discord. You can find a link to that in the description. I'm in there all the time, talking about things I'm seeing as well as giving advice and feedback. A brief overview of the lecture is as follows. We'll begin, as always, with some general remarks. From there, we'll discuss the purpose of a DRC and why we should even use it. Afterwards, we'll get into showing what the DRC actually looks like and then break down each of its elements. At the end, I have a surprise announcement that I'm excited to share with the folks in the Discord. The link to that, again, will be in the description. From there, we'll close out with some final notes and thoughts. General remarks. Firstly, I am not a financial advisor, and this video is for entertainment purposes only. Otherwise, I want to make it clear that the journaling process is fundamental to success. You will not make it in this business if you're not journaling about and tracking your trades. And in regard to that, consistency is key. So in that, what role does the DRC play in this process? Firstly, I think it was critical in how I developed and continue to refine my trading identity. You can use it to help you understand some of the more nuanced things about how you as a person intersects with you as a trader. Partly in regard to that, it will help you remain mindful of things you took from past trades, cerebral of future consequences, and will teach you presence, which isn't only valuable for trading, but more broadly life. It will help you avoid regressing to earlier states of your development by forcing you to be more thoughtful about your approach. It helps with overtrading because before you take a suboptimal setup, you will start thinking to yourself, do I really want to have to write this up at the end of my session? It will help you understand how to start analyzing and tracking your trades if that's not something you're doing, and extremely importantly, it will help you develop accountability for your trading when you're not actively trading. Within that, the most growth you'll experience is when you begin treating your process as if you're already a professional. Here's what the DRC actually looks like. To get access, you can go to the description of this video and click the Google Docs link. When it opens, you can go to the top left and click File, make a copy, create a name for the file, and again click Make a Copy. Then you'll have your own version of this template to use and edit. There's a lot of stuff here, so just a brief overview to begin with. At the top, we're going to fill out the date and grade. The grade you'll insert after the session as a reflection of your overall feelings and performance. Goals and aphorisms we'll talk about shortly. Those should be things that are typically going to be set for an extended period of time. This box in the middle is split up into different time segments that I trade in accordance with my time zone and different factors relevant to note for each of those segments. Obviously, you'll need to adjust this for your time zone, and of course you can add and remove new columns and rows as suits your needs. Comments is just a catch-all for things that you want to note in regard to a specific segment of your trading session, and we'll speak about everything else as we move throughout the lecture. The first thing I want to discuss is the goal segment of our DRC. This is going to be filled in with a description of an issue you've identified in your trading process that upon being attended to will provide the most significant impact in favor of your success. Some basic examples of things I've dealt with in order of how I experienced them are those such as revenge trading, overtrading, and not being thorough with my prep. With this, as I alluded to previously, it is important to set a goal and keep it there until you feel there is a more pressing issue. Some goals will be there for a few weeks, others may be about for a few months. It's important not to establish your goal as a P&L or win-loss related metric. This is solely about making good fundamental decisions. Reminders and aphorisms are things that are important to acknowledge as to refresh your mind of prior to the session and the important things to keep in mind during the session. I recommend picking around 5 items and keeping them punchy so it's easier to read, process, and apply. Note these things do not have to be directly trading related. It can be things from outside of work that help you improve your overall mental state, like don't forget to call mom and make sure to go to the gym regularly, and so on. Being attentive to these reminders can help with presence, mindfulness, and generally avoiding regression. These are typically going to be things that you would register as having been a valuable lesson that came up during your journey and are therefore part of the wall that keeps your current state of development from the state prior to the new threshold of understanding you now possess. Grade is a measure of personal reflection in regard to your confidence, health, mood, presence, and anything else that contributes to your general sense amidst a trading session. You can use whatever grading system you see fit. I personally use a percentage gauge for this, where closer to 0 is increasingly bad and closer to 100 is increasingly good. But you can use a 1 to 10, A to Z, A to F, emote scale, etc., whatever works for you. Also, don't be afraid to give yourself a perfect score or just generally higher grades. This was something I struggled with when I first started doing this because I was scared that higher scores on bad days would impact my confidence. But the thing to know is that understanding your performance as rooted in reality is truly what will justify confidence as you progress. We have to make decisions rooted in reality, otherwise, they're rooted in imagination, and we can't have a true sense for what is actually happening. You have to always be honest. You can use this to reference moments where you may need to sit out if you're not in the right state. If you're constantly going in with a high grade and coming out on bad days, then you either need to humble yourself or you need to go back to reevaluating your process, probably both. The next segment, PTD or Play of the Day, is going to be the best trading opportunity that presented itself based on your system. I personally fill this out for each segment, even though it's called Play of the Day, and again, it's important to keep this grounded to an opportunity that presented itself based on your system, not just looking for a big price rotation on the chart and arbitrarily attempting to access a way that you can tell yourself you would have taken it. That's not what this is about. Some things to keep in mind with this are perhaps that your system prints a certain setup during a certain time of day that performs particularly well. You can also use this to identify which of your setups might deserve more risk allocation, and plenty of other correlations that come in conjunction with recording this piece of information. Speaking of risk, sizing is going to be the next segment, and is going to help us identify how much risk we want to be putting on based on our grade, and how we have seen certain setups performing, and how we expect certain setups to be performing. If I'm coming back to the charts after a few days off, I may want to adjust my sizing as I get back into the swing of things. If I feel like shit going into the day, I may want to adjust based on that. If things are going well and I have a lot in my favor, or the opposite, I may adjust my risk based on that as well. In this part of the process, you should be cerebral of how your size is affecting the number of trades you're taking, how long you're holding them, and potentially allocating different amounts of risk to different setups based on their statistics. Again, it's also worth exploring adjusting risk based on our state of reality going into the session. If you're going through a breakup or you just had a death in the family that is fucking with your head, you should not be trading the same as if you are in a healthy state of mind. Ideally, we can all execute our system robotically, but in a lot of cases, for a lot of people, that's simply not a realistic expectation. And again, we have to be honest with ourselves because the market does not give a fuck about what we think we can do. The market is the ultimate reality. The in my favor column is intended to serve as a space to map out the favorable factors on and off the charts during a segment. The way I do this is by having some general things that I like to see on the charts and creating short hashtags for them to help me quickly record and filter. Again, it's especially worth reiterating that these things don't necessarily have to be chart related. Coming off a good workout and or having recently explored some holes are two things that can potentially be considered as in your favor as they are in mine. Understanding that these things are in place during a trading session can help you be more cerebral of the higher level context when executing. The day's analysis portion is divided into three parts. The first is going to require you to do a brief write-up regarding something you learned and or noticeably improved on based in that day. Then, because we are always looking for more opportunities to improve, you'll also record something that you realized needs to change based on that day. Lastly, a brief write-up on a high-level overview of the session. These don't have to be essays, just a few sentences, maybe at most around a paragraph. The easiest money portion is meant to be dedicated to a single trade that occurred in that day, whether you took it or not, but that fits as part of your system. Pick something that had enough factors of confluence, was obviously present enough, and that moved well. Similar to the play of the day section, don't just pick the biggest rotation in that day and try to arbitrarily justify it. Pick something that fits within the realm of your system, and with this, you're really a lot of the time just picking your favorite setup from one of your play of the day boxes and giving it a more intricate look and write-up. The last part of the DRC is going to require you to start analyzing and recording your trades. The DRC has an input area for the ticker of the market you took the trade in, the P&L, and a space for you to do a brief but detailed as possible write-up about the trade. Try to note things like why did you get in and what are some of the things you noticed about the data as you were attempting to get in, how did the trade behave whilst you were in, and what ultimately prompted you to get out, and what was that process like. Special announcement time: in my trading room, to which the Discord link can be found in the description, I am launching what will be called the DRC Club. Those who get access will be able to post their DRCs every day for review and feedback from myself and others, and just like every alcoholic's favorite social club, when you post for consecutive days, you'll be rewarded with different chips, or in this case, roles, in the Discord, and I'll try and add different incentives, like maybe seeing my DRCs, more of my prep levels, and whatever else I decide to do. I think this will be a valuable opportunity, though, for people who want to be accountable and want to really get good at this game, as it will provide the opportunity to learn exponentially given the additional perspectives involved on a granular level beyond if you were just trading alone. Before we close out, I want to note that being a professional in this business is not just about what you do at the charts. Taking accountability for your process via journaling and post session analysis helps you define and enhance your system beyond what you can do just pressing buttons. For example, athletes don't only exert themselves during competition, they study their craft and take pre and post competition accountability measures. For our purposes, the expression fake it till you make it is essentially equivalent to act how you want to be. So, again, journaling as well as being mindful of diet, exercise, sleep, social life are all things that are going to contribute to your effectiveness when you're at the charts. And don't be ashamed to admit if you're struggling with one of those things. I still do too, but the market is the ultimate reality, and we can approach it best when we are working as the best version of ourselves. That's the end of the DRC explanation. If you enjoyed it, like and subscribe, as well as follow me on Twitter. My handle is on the screen, and there will be a link in the description as well. There will also be a link to the DRC template in the description of this video. If you found value from this, you can also support my crayon eating addiction using that Ethereum address on screen and in the description. Lastly, I have the free trading Discord open to everyone. Again, I'm in there all the time giving feedback and answering questions. You can also get the framework cheat sheet from there as well. And be sure to ping me in there if you want access to the DRC club. That's it for now. New video next week. Thanks for watching. See you all in the books.